Good morning and welcome to another Hendy Consulting video presentation. And this morning we're going to talk about again the winners and losers from SDC's incredibly provocative talk about the future of their business and the future of emissive displays in flat panel displays. So for those of you who haven't seen it, it would be, I'll leave a link below, and you should go and watch Dr. Choi's talk about the future of OLEDs and of the future of SDC. But he's talking about basically expansion of the emissives display category to $100 billion from its current 40 to 45 billion today. And also then the revenue of SDC reaching $50 billion. And in a market that is today 150 billion in total, that's an incredibly provocative remark. So what we wanted to do today, as they are such a leader in our industry, is provide some critique of what does this mean and who are the winners and losers out of this incredible worldview. So as we said, his vision was for emissive displays. So in this world, we would be talking about OLED, but also micro LED, perhaps also QDEL. But emissive displays moving to $100 billion within a short number of years, and he said before 2030, based on the following key drivers. So their new investment in Gen 8 OLED for IT applications, clearly their role in foldable form factors, where Samsung Display is already known as being the category leader by far, expansion of OLED into automotive, the expansion of their new QD-OLED TV product, which competes with LG's white OLED product, micro display, where here they're talking about their work in near-to-eye displays, which is currently a very hot topic. And actually, finally, an interesting one, the use of organic photodiodes as a value-adding addition for security behind OLED in what they call OLED 2.0. So actually, if you look at his worldview, it is a stretch. That is the whole nation of vision. And I have to say, I can get more easily to 45 to $50 billion of revenue for SDC as a set of assumptions than I can do thinking about the role of emissive displays growing to 100 billion, which to me, given price erosion, even with some of the category extensions that he's talking about, is a provocative view and perhaps less likely. But because the way that SDC is pursuing it, they are looking at category expansion of the OLED space, but also value chain expansion, where what the all-in-one sensor in particular is adding more component value to the smartphone through technology that they have, is a way that I believe that given their 85+% market share in OLED displays for smartphone, this is something where they can very credibly talk about adding revenue. So I have provided a critique of this already, but it was my own estimate of, can I get to the $50 billion revenue assumption? And I get pretty close. I make some slightly different assumptions than JS Choi does on the revenue of his business. In particular, I talk about transferring the TV micro LED business from Samsung Electronics into SDC, which may or may not happen within the Samsung group. And that is probably more likely to hit a large $1 billion revenue level within this time frame, I think, than some other things. But from a mixture of the QD OLED expansion, the category leadership in foldables and rollables, the new Gen 8 investment, although over this time frame, if you probably think that 30K sheets is probably what they'll achieve, then perhaps that isn't so much value at a OLED level. I can get to in the 40 to $45 billion range. So talking about 50 is certainly possible. So what are the implications? Who wins and loses out of this new view of the world? Well, I mean, clearly all of the supply chain currently supplying the OLED space, and so you can think about Solas, you can think about UDC, you can think about Merck, all the other emitter and transport layer companies that already supply to Samsung. When you talk about expansionary category growth, where they're talking about leading now in automotive with OLED and IT products with OLED, plus all the capital equipment that goes with it, those companies will clearly do well from an expansion of SDC. Although one wonders, one of the things he talked about was OLED completely displacing LCD in smartphone panels. And to do that, then you really need a new pricing level, which is much lower to push out the LCD from the bottom of the industry and serve the lower priced Chinese handset makers. And so to do that, then, while there would be volume growth, it's not clear to me that the pricing would be that great. SDC then is also talking about their own proposition for near-to-eye microdisplays. And I would imagine, given if Samsung can arrange the pieces within them, they are, of course, world leader semiconductor players as well as display players. If they can actually pull off the alignment across their businesses, then they really could come up with something really quite impressive in microdisplays and waveguides. The value extension in all-in-one sensor is fascinating now in that it adds value, component value to the display, but also further increases the role of multi-finger security in displays. And I think that has benefits for some other players that will also be pursuing strategies like that. But that will bring new functionality to the phone. And the notion that he talks about 0 to 100 inch in emissives is a little bit provocative, because if you also talk about 100 inch at the top end, that almost implies micro LED work at the high end, or a Gen 10 type investment to be reaching those sort of panel sizes effectively, but also at all very high color depth. So there will be implications there, I guess, for high color depth drivers, which is also a Samsung business in all of this. So quite some category expansion everywhere. And I like the notion that this was actually the near-to-eye work is actually a fairly strong link of the semiconductor industry, where Samsung is strong, and displays. And that collaboration across those two industries really hasn't been something seen much in the past. And finally, a little nitbit, he did emphasize that red in micro LED is still a weak point, and that clearly is. Allen gap reds are usually a substantially better efficiency than GaN red at this point. And actually that does mean that the companies that have got strong red micro LEDs and red wafers may trade at higher prices than blue and green for the near future. So who else does win and lose out of this provocative worldview? Well, I mean, if you're talking about OLED expansion, then clearly everybody that supplies SDC, be it materials or equipment, will do well out of it. The expansion in QD OLED should lead to revenue increases for the equipment companies associated with that. And then I'll talk about particularly Ulvac in their novel work in having solved Gen 8 fine metal mask OLED. The notion here that all-in-one sensing can be done will also be good news for other companies like iZorg, who have shown the capability of doing organic photodiode capability across full screen. And that will add new functionality to displays in general. And then I think it will also increase partnerships between the semiconductor industry and the display industry to try and pursue near-to-eye micro LED solutions in particular. Who are the losers out of this? Well, I can imagine that LGD might be able to come up with a similarly provocative discussion in return. They have sort of some of the same depths of strength in innovation. But for BOE and China Star, the two capacity leaders in LCD, I think this is a more difficult challenge. This worldview is basically an expansion of OLED and emissives in the total space. And while CSOT has quite a good emissive story beginning to come with their work on QDEL and their work on inkjet printed OLED, I think BOE is yet to really form a very strong position on what their emissive story is going to be. They've shown some large white OLED demonstrators, but not much more than that. And I think for Taiwan Inc., it will push them hard into coming up with a provocative answer to SDC's leadership in this whole space. So this really was, for me, a very provocative statement from Dr. Choi about the role of SDC in the future. And it really is multi-dimensional OLED expansion across a whole range of spaces. Certainly, I think the 50 billion that he's aiming for SDC might be, with some stretch in certain places, more achievable than actually moving the whole category to $100 billion. But it really will be interesting as we go forward to see the response of the others. And certainly I'm looking forward to a robust response from LGD, but also how the Chinese respond to this incredibly provocative outlook. If you'd like to talk more with us about the implications for your business of the importance of SDC or any of the other leaders in the marketplace, then feel free to reach out to us.